We're going to take a time machine back to the 80s in my life. We're going to go back to 1982, 83, 84, where I was learning how to play the chromatic harmonica. And I started to experiment playing in different keys, and I liked that you could do that on the instrument. And you could do it easier than on the diatonic, and there wasn't any kind of weird, like I have to play half bends or overblows or any kind of weird technique I needed. I just needed to know breath patterns and when to push the slide in. And so I really started to become fascinated with the instrument. And I like to play it in a number of keys, but I was attracted to keys that featured draw notes. So like a lot of blues harp players, I started playing in the key of D on the C chromatic harmonica. And the key of D is like every note works in a D bluesy situation. It's almost foolproof. And then I also like the key of B for the same reason, because I started getting so that I was playing in D major tonality because I learned to work the slide on the F sharp. The relative minor to D major is B minor. And so I found that the slide ornaments that I was learning in D carried over to B. And I also find that B was a key where there was a lot of draw notes. And I like that. Like this whole 4 draw, that's the B. There's the F sharp. So, anyway, getting back to this misperception I had about the key of C. I had 3 or 4 keys under my belt that I like to play around in, but the key of C was not on my radar, and I wasn't particularly drawn to that key. And I had some misperceptions about the key of C on the chromatic and jamming in the key of C. It didn't seem like a very cool key to play in. It seemed to me like kind of like the old Susanna key. So I was like, well, that's the key it was designed to play in, but that's for all those folky harmonica players. It's not for guys that are it's for the folky players, not the funky players. But I want to talk about the diatonic, because I certainly was playing this about 4 years before I picked up a chromatic. And I want to talk about my perception of playing in C on a C diatonic harmonica. So we're talking about first position here. And we have all these cool blow bends at the top register. I call this the Jimmy Reed register. I think the dog's going to start barking. Let me see if I play some high notes, but... So that's the top register. That's first position. And then you have the first octave. You have all these cool draw notes that are very expressive. You can bend them. They're pliable. So whenever I would hear blues harmonica players play in first position, they would play the high register. They would play the low register. They would get to the 5 chord. Either the first octave or the third octave. This middle octave, if you ever bought one of these instruments, it comes with a folded up, I don't care what brand or model you buy, it will usually have an instruction manual. The first thing they tell you is that there's a major scale in the middle of the harmonica, starting on hole 4. Then they will have some songs in there. They'll have those kinds of songs, maybe just 1 or 2 songs. And so that is the middle register of the diatonic harmonica. And this was 1983. I didn't know how to overblow yet. And when I learned to overblow first position, the middle octave completely changed. But for me, the middle octave back in 1983 was not cool at all. And then my understanding of solo tuning is that you take that middle octave and you reproduce it down an octave, and then you reproduce it up an octave, and it creates a 12-hole harmonica. That's what we've got here, solo tuning. So my perception was they didn't take the cool part where you can bend the blow notes or the bottom octave. They took the middle old Susanna octave of the harmonica and made a 3-octave instrument. All the octaves are behaving like the old Susanna register. So I just wasn't very excited about the key of C. I had a perception that there was a lot of blow notes. But I got to show you something. Remember I mentioned that I was drawn to, no pun intended, keys that featured a lot of draw notes. The key of D, the key of B. Well, I got to show you something about the key of B. Like, so here we have hole 4, draw. Then right above hole 4, draw, hole 5, we have a minor third above it if we play the draw note. And then we have the flatted 7 below it. Those are like the money notes for blues and funky music. Check this out. Push the slide in. See, that's the thing. There's a slide. It's not just the old Susanna register on here that's been reproduced 3 times. That's true. 3 octaves of the non-bluesy register of the harmonica have been reproduced in a 3-octave instrument, but we have this thing that raises the pitch a half step. So all of a sudden, what I liked about the key of B applies to the key of C, because I've got hole 4 draw is now a C. I got a minor third above it and a flat 7 below it. So we've gone from that, to this. So that was the game changer for me as far as jamming in the key of C. And that changed a lot of things. And then, of course, you know, we have right above the C, we've got a D if you don't push the slide in. Then you could start playing around with the slide. And you've got slide ornaments there between, you've got a slide ornament, a turn between D and C. But once you learn from the D to the draw C, that same exact breath pattern up 1 hole. And all of a sudden you got blues scale notes. These are all draw notes. You've got the F and the F sharp, you know, the flatted 5th of the blues scale. And so learning these draw notes then you learn the G is a blow note, which is rather disappointing if you're a blues player. You want to wail on the 5th, but it's a blow note. How disappointing is that? But that's the reality. And then you've got the pentatonic scale. If you learn the pentatonic scale and the dominant scale and the Dorian scale in the key of C, you've got it. You can start jamming, and it's a cool key. And then, of course, I finally figured out, that Stevie Wonder, who had opened up all kinds of unusual keys for me on his recordings, I realized that his early recordings, he was mostly playing in the key of C. And, of course, he was playing it super funky. So finally, I, got a clue about that, too, about Stevie playing in C. Anyway, I hope this helps. This is a good place to start the 3 draw notes, holes 3, 4, and 5 with the slide in. Play around with that. Let me grab something here. If you want to dive deeper into jamming in the key of C, I do have these harmonica methods for sale. This is the DVD. You can get the streaming version on my website. And it's all video based. It's about 4 hours of instruction. I go over the jamming in the key of C and F and G and D. So Anyway, I hope this helps. I'll talk to you guys later. Bye.